right, welcome everyone to another episode of Geekamole. It is episode 222, and I see new people. I am your host, Drew, and above me are my two co-hosts for the next 2 weeks, Crash, and above him, Nightstar76. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be here.
And we are going to do that thing that we do so well, or at least try to do so well, for the few of you who are out there watching. We're just going to bust into this bad boy, and it's new for the guys above me, so we're just going to go through this as best we can, and in about 2 weeks, Mouse and CC should be back. But let's go ahead and start off with the news. World of Warcraft. It has been announced that Warlords of Draenor, the last expansion, has now been brought into the official main game, so that you basically buy the whole thing for $20 now. The level 90 boost is no longer an option unless you had already acquired the game by itself, the expansion by itself. In which case, if you have not already used your 90 boost, you can still do so. This is, of course, all in expectation of Legion, the next expansion, which is coming out on August 30th, right in front of the movie, which will be another $49.99. So, yay. Next up, Nightstar.
Well, one of the biggest things as far as like gaming news goes, first off, with my own introduction here, I am mostly a console gamer. I do game on PC, but primarily with Xbox. But one of the big things that came to Xbox this week is that they are actually releasing almost 1 million gamertags that have actually been locked down since the original launch of Xbox Live almost 12 years ago. These are all gamertags that were taken, had pop culture references to them, just, popular names, food types even. Just different stuff that was really popular back in the day before people started adding those dreaded XX and other, leet speak characters to their gamer tags. So, and from what I understand at this point, they have not run out of them yet. It was speculated that it was going to be something that would go really fast, but the rollout for Xbox has actually been really smooth for this one.
I think when I got my Xbox thing, it didn't even give me an option. I got stuck with something really, really obscure. Not that I'm going to change it, because I don't want you people knowing where I am on Xbox.
Yeah, I'm kind of transparent when it comes to that. My gamer tag is actually Nightstar76, the exact same thing that I use on my blog and everything else that I do.
Well, you got lucky. I got weird names. So if you guys want to change your gamer tag, this is your opportunity.
Yeah, a lot of new ones opened up that, it was just blocked out before because they had been taken.
All right. Next up, Fallout 4 Far Harbor.
Yeah. Yesterday, Bethesda released the newest DLC expansion for Fallout 4, the Far Harbor expansion. It's supposed to be they've said it's the largest area that they've released as a DLC, out larger than the Shivering Isles expansion for Oblivion. And it looks to have some changes to the base game, adding more of an element of choice, which is something that Fallout 4 has been criticized for in the past. Now you have choices that can affect how your storyline goes, and there are new factions in the Far Harbor area, and a new storyline based around a colony of synths.
I thought somebody had posted something online where they I think it was on YouTube. They were saying, for those of you who had just he'd already lost all of his humans to the fog.
Yes, the fog is a new element too. Evidently, the settlements have to keep the fog out because certain of the monsters are using it.
Oh, lovely. It's like The Mist all over again. Except
I was just going there.
Oh my god, what happened to my camera? My camera died.
Because
his camera works, my camera's dead.
Yeah.
Keep going.
But yeah, the fog seems like an interesting element. I'm looking forward to getting a hold of of this and tearing through Far Harbor and see what kind of choice I do have, and still looking forward to the day when someone like Obsidian comes along with the New Vegas for Fallout 4.
So for those who are wondering what's going on, my computer is loving me because it's right now got two cameras going on because Crash is right here beside me, and we are sharing a single microphone. So this is, and unfortunately, whereas I always have my notes right in front of me, he's doing this from memory. So bear with us. Again, this is the trials and tribulations of first time co-hosts, and we'll be better next week. But is that it for Far Harbor?
Yeah, I mean, other than the usual, like with any area of a Fallout game, I want to see how quickly I can remove every living thing in the area.
Have you Mouse and I talk about this all the time. Have you ever seen the Final Pam from Monster Factory?
No.
Oh God, watch it on YouTube. Monster Factory did a 3-episode thing of Fallout 4 where they introduced the Final Pam and just tore the game apart. It is hysterical. Hysterical. 3-part. If you watch after the show. All right, next up, Night.
Okay, so what I'm going to talk about here, this will be, yes, it's another Xbox tidbit, but it'll be the last Xbox-centric tidbit for me tonight. A lot of players that are huge fans of the Call of Duty franchise have been screaming for Black Ops, the first Black Ops, to be released on backward compatibility to be played on the Xbox One. This week, that finally happened. Now, a lot of people were complaining because they thought that it was, just that Activision or Treyarch were just, dragging their feet or not want to do it, or that Microsoft wasn't doing anything about it. Actually, it turns out that the major thing behind it was the music licensing, and they finally were able to get the music licensed and change some stuff up in it so that it can be played in backward compatibility. So now they're going back to, again, having another previous game where you're not the future tech with all the, exo armor and exo suits and stuff that personally I enjoy, but a lot of people really just cannot stand that stuff. There's been some other speculation that this is their answer to that same question as to going, back to getting rid of the high-tech stuff in battle, as with this fall coming out with the Battlefield 1, which will be based in World War I. So obviously there's not going to be any high-tech armaments in that.
What? They didn't have high-tech exo armors in World War I? How did we win?
Not in this universe, anyways. I've seen some games where they, steampunked it up and went back and did some really funky stuff, but no, with this.
Well, they're appealing to
I know you were joking, but I had to go there.
Yeah, well. All right. Next up, Ark Survival Evolved. Ever since this, I don't play it nearly as often as I should, only because I'm not a PvP type person, and I don't like playing around people who are going to screw with my crap. But Ark Survival Evolved has continued to do the things that I wish other game companies would do. They have now, as of earlier this week, released The Center, which is actually part of their official mods program. This is the first player-created map that has been incorporated into Ark. It is a huge fantasy landscape that has hovering mountains, a la Avatar. It has giant rock formations, ancient underground lava ruins, underground forests, ice temples, world-ending waterfalls. It is 70 square kilometers. It is twice the size of a regular Ark map. So it is newly released. It is out there on hundreds of servers ready to go. And in fact, Ark is still on Steam Early Access. It is currently at a 33% discount. So they had hoped, the design company Studio Wildcard had hoped to have the game out of early access this June, but it looks like that's been pushed back to the holiday season, probably somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. They are continuing to produce quality work. They have, all their initiatives regarding bug squashing, and, the fact that they're pushing this out with all these regular updates. Again, good on you guys. AAA companies take notice, especially Warner Brothers. And as a reminder, they also spun off their Battle Royale system, Survival of the Fittest, as a standalone free-to-play game. So they're busting their butts, people, and they're doing some quality work out there. So good on them. Next up.
Well, real quick, back to the whole Ark thing. That game, its origins to begin with, everything that they've done with that game, starting from something that was just, they've come a very long way.
Oh, yeah.
With something, even now, you go to buy the game and they tell you, do not purchase this game unless you're comfortable buying a game that may never actually be finished. But with the way that it's come up and gathers such a following, they've done an amazing job, even for some of the graphics that aren't that great on it. but that all has to be rendered down, of course, because of the player-based server system.
Yeah. But it like I said, I did a first run playing that game, and I just laughed my ass off, even when I was dying. Being chased by giant scorpions and stabbed to death, falling off of. I fell off of so many things. I got to this magical place I called Disneyland and then died because I fell off of a cliff. I was just laughing my butt off the entire time. So, any game that I think, can make me laugh while dying, is a credit there. But they have done such remarkable things with the community, and the fact that they have embraced the modding community out there. These are things that I wish AAA companies would adopt and engage in. And, there have been so many recent AAA releases, to put that in quotations, that have been half-assed, and I think you're going to talk about one later, Nightstar.
Yes.
So, again, these are lessons that AAA companies need to be learning.
Well, absolutely, and some of them are starting to. Just to segue just to back a little bit to what was being discussed a minute ago with the Fallout 4. That game right there, they're really trying to embrace the game mods, the user-made game mods, and to the point where they're actually making them available for the console players as well.
Oh yeah, they've released the whole modding system, and they are setting it up to where PC or console, as long as you have an account on their server, you can get it all.
Later this month for Xbox and next month for PS4, if I recall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But back to the whole laughing while you're dying thing, it sounds like you got a really bad virus there that's infecting your brain, which segues perfectly into my next topic here.
Wait, hold on. We've got one before you. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
It was a last-minute topic. Sorry, we kind of threw it in there. This is Crashes.
Yeah, so Onyx Path has released Exalted 3rd Edition after much work and a very successful Kickstarter campaign for the Deluxe Edition.
It is a huge book.
It is a huge book. They've revised everything. They've put in a lot. They put in a lot more story. They seem to be trying to retool the base world to give the characters. By the second edition, towards the end, was epically over the top, but it had also gone very far into, jumping the shark so bad it's with some of the setting bits. But they're trying to bring it into line with, a good epic high fantasy scenery, and are they going to do the thing they did last time, where they had source books for each of the factions, or because considering how huge the book was, they are going to have separate source books for the factions. Dragon Blooded is, I believe, the next one to come in the next few months, hopefully. As for this one of the things that I like is they've retooled the sorcery system and created the magical working system so that Exalted wizards, as it were, the ones who want to use sorcery, actually, it feels less like just being something that was just thrown in there. It feels very
more
different.
magical as opposed to psionic feats.
Yeah, more magical, less like the charm system that they use for everyday things, but more, magical, especially the magical workings, which are things that can take a character months of in-game, in-universe time to pull off, but can also fundamentally alter the cosmos in limited ways.
They're still keeping the lunars, solars, abyssals, infernals, autochthonians,
and they're
sidereals.
And they're adding 2 new ones, the liminal Exalted, which are, I think, what the abyssals would have been meant to, what Soulsteel was meant for, other than the abyssals. But they are more, if you've ever seen White Wolf's Promethean the Created, these are basically put together from bodies and animated a la Frankenstein's monster.
Sounds terribly Autochtonian, though.
And then there's the Exigents, which are exalted by gods of lesser stature than the Celestial Incarna, and their power set can vary wildly. It's like someone who gets empowered by, say, a harvest god is going to have a completely different feel than someone, say, empowered by the god of a city. Someone with city powers, they know where everything is. They know they can leap from rooftop to rooftop. They're Batman, Shaolin. Whatever.
Batman Shaolin.
Whereas the harvest one, they're protecting their village and keeping food and they're supplying food for everybody. And who knows?
I just hope that they actually bust these supplements out faster than the freaking second edition, because I would still kill to get a copy of second edition Infernals. You had it, and then it was gone.
And with them going to the more with the print on demand that they've gone to, that is the thing is ever since I believe it was CCP, I believe, bought out White Wolf at some point and then started focusing most of their energy towards EVE Online.
Oh, crap.
And so White Wolf the role-playing division split off or formed Onyx Path, and they've embraced the print-on-demand model.
Which I suppose makes sense.
And Kickstarters for things like deluxe editions and such, which have helped them because the Exalted book would not be nearly the big monster that it is if they hadn't had such a successful Kickstarter campaign.
Well, in truth, I mean, it does make much more sense for them to have print on demand, because that way you're not having the sheer excess of books just floating around out there.
Yeah.
But it's disappointing for those of us who want to be able to pick them up after that.
Yeah, or get them at your local bookstore.
Yeah. All right. That it for Exalted?
You know what they need to start doing is making it so you can just buy the license for it, get the PDF, and print it out yourself for a low price.
You can drive through RPG?
Yeah, Drive Through RPG has the PDFs.
Oh, okay.
They're the ones who handle the print on demand as well.
Oh, well, then there you go.
Yeah. You can get it in PDF format or print on demand, whichever you prefer.
All right.
Cool.
So, Nightstar, speaking of your mental, the mental plaguing.
Yeah. Now, this game, I first started playing it, well, not too many years ago, maybe 4 years ago, when I had my first Galaxy Tab phone. And Plague Inc. has come a long way from that to being on every single mobile device that there is. You can get it on Windows Phone, Android phone, or Apple. and now then it moved to PC. Now it's even a console game where you can actually pick it up and play it on Xbox as an exclusive there. And now it's leaving the digital realm and coming straight at your tabletop. They're still in the I say early stages, but they've actually completed the game pretty much as far as the way it's going to be. They've got expansion packs. It's going to be a full-on card and board type game where you can do all kinds of different expansions to deck out your viruses and go after your enemies. They're even adding portions where you can actually have one nation do a nuclear strike on another one to try and wipe out your opponent virus. So you get that card and you nuke the world and then you kill everybody else. But
because radiation poisoning is so much nicer than whatever the plague is.
Can we combine this with exploding kittens? I think you're going to die.
Hey, have you played Sunset Overdrive? Exploding teddy bears right there.
I just hope this game is not like Pandemic, the board game, which I don't know if you've heard of that one, but that's...
yeah.
Yeah, that one is the one where you can only play the game twice or something like that.
No, they've randomized this one. I actually got invited to do testing for it, but I wasn't quite willing to take the, I don't know, how long is the flight to London? That's where their studios are.
To London.
Just to play a game. So, but no, this game, it looks very promising. I'm really looking forward to it. They're still in the pre-launch phase where they're still running a Kickstarter. But thing is, they only needed just about $35,000 to get off the ground and make this a reality to actually ship it to store shelves around the world. There's 11 days left in the campaign, and they've already raised just under $169,000. So, I mean, you can even get in right now and, pledge $30 on Kickstarter, and you get a free copy of the game once it does launch.
Well, we're big supporters of Kickstarter here, but just as a note, if anyone wants to fly me out to anywhere to play a game, I'll do it.
Well, they weren't going to
London, Tokyo.
I would have paid my own way.
All right. Is that it for Plague?
That's it until I start sneezing and coughing here.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Okay. I'll be sure to mute my mic if I do.
Okay. Crash?
All right. Yeah, LEGO Dimensions has released its 5th wave. This completes the initial sets for the LEGO Dimensions game, allowing for 100% completion. There's rumors of future waves to come, but these were the last ones announced back when the game released. The 3 packs released are Slimer from Ghostbusters. Slimer's a very useful figure, all sorts of useful talents, including mini access, flying, diving, hazard cleanup, which he handles in a different way from most of the other characters, as they will spray water to clean up hazards. Slimer just eats it.
Of course.
And he uses the sausage he's carrying as a boomerang to trigger boomerang switches. And he can light up dark areas and, of course, access the Ghostbusters adventure world. Then there's Bane from DC, and the vehicle he comes with is very useful because it has the 3-in-1 drill driver, has the drill ability, which before this required the Lego Movie characters. Emmett, I believe, was the only one who had a drill ability. And then Bane himself has hazard protection, big transform, and super stealth, making him a fairly usable character as well.
Super stealth seems terribly unlike Bane.
Yeah, Batman has it too. So
well, that's Batman. I don't see Bane as sneaking around.
Yeah, Bane isn't exactly subtle.
He's not a subtle person.
Yeah, I see him being more like Hulk. Bane smash.
And then the last one is the Ninjago Lloyd Fun Pack, which has the Lloyd character and a 3-in-1 golden dragon. Lloyd can use his golden katanas, and he has the as most of the Ninjago figures do, the ability to activate Spinjitzu switches, illuminate dark, and he can illuminate dark areas, perform acrobatic jumps, and deflect lasers. And, of course, like any good ninja, he has stealth.
Which makes more sense than Bane.
Which makes a lot more sense than Bane.
Although if I were running around in giant gold sparkly outfit, I wouldn't be terribly stealthy.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what that outfit is meant to be stealthy for, but...
Next time he's in having... No, I'm not going to say it. I'm just not going to say it. I went to place, and I didn't need to go there. Well, this is right on the heels of Disney announcing that they were going to be canceling Infinity after 3.0. They were not going to be continuing on to a 4.0. They had only 2 more expansions that they were releasing in around June, that being Finding Dory and Alice Through the Looking Glass. They have shut down, I believe it's Avalanche. What's that?
Avalanche, and well, they're shutting down all of their console gaming and video gaming departments as they
determined it wasn't as profitable for them to do it. They're going to focus on, I guess, just licensing out, which is, again, a boon for Lego, who already has a partnership with Disney,
or at least has had a partnership in the past. For franchises like Star Wars and Marvel.
Mm-hmm. And I just would encourage one of the remaining 3, either I doubt Amiibo or I doubt Nintendo or oh god, what was the other one? Skylanders. Whoever owns Skylanders. Activision. I doubt either of them would pair nicely with Disney, but I think it would be a great opportunity for Lego if they actually found a way to incorporate those old Disney characters by simply making, just go make your freaking Captain America out of Lego already if there's not already a release for him.
And they could do that easily once they have permission to use the license.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping to see. I think that the Lego Dimensions game has a lot of possibility because it has these big licenses like the DC superheroes, Doctor Who, Portal, The Simpsons, all of that.
And it doesn't take itself anywhere near seriously.
No, it doesn't take itself anywhere near seriously. I think the thing that's limited Skylanders, which has always limited them, is that their characters are unique to them.
Yeah, there's no brand recognition. It's like, what the hell is that? And why would I want it? Versus Amiibo Legends of Zelda characters that you know from other games. You're like, holy crap, I want that.
Yeah, and Amiibo, the way they're implementing it, I mean, you can use it across multiple types of games, whereas Lego Dimensions is still within its own game. But they can add in new worlds at any time and new levels. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really one of their strengths, is that they do have this diversity. And
it is by its definition a sandbox.
Exactly.
And whereas Disney with Infinity was trying to create a sandbox, Lego is by definition a sandbox. So it's just a simple transition. If they could get the license, they could easily incorporate these. So, I hope they do it.
And I'm hoping to see in the time to come, because they said that Lego Dimensions is on a 3-year plan, that the game itself will be able to just incorporate new things for at least 3 years using the existing portal, using the existing game. So I'm hoping to see there's the rumors and the released listings, which were just product numbers, but had some very interesting suffixes on them, like HP, which some believe is going to be indicates that a Harry Potter world will be added because Warner owns both of them.
Yep, that's inevitable.
And another one was Mr. T.
Oh dear God!
I pity the fools.
Yeah, and some of the others, like there's one AT, which
Could be the A-Team.
Could be the A-Team. It could be Adventure Time.
Could be.
Speculation abounds.
All right, so let's get moving on then. Nightstar, Battlefront.
Okay. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy this game for what it is. It never should have been a $60 game. Or $90 if you bought the season pass, where you got all the expansions, which are the only ways for achievement hunters to actually go through and get all the achievements. But essentially with this game, EA made, in my opinion, and the opinion of many others, a critical mistake. They launched the game without a campaign for one reason, and that was so that the launch could coincide with The Force Awakens coming to theaters, to try and pull more people to buy their game with that, tie-in. And yet there's not a single aspect in this game that ties into Force Awakens at all, other than the fact that it exists in the same universe. So they went for the money, they went fast, and I played the beta. The beta was a little bit glitchy at launch. Every single glitch that I saw on the beta was there in the full game. Mm-hmm. There's just been a lot of issues. Now, their servers, definitely better than some of the other games out there. Don't even get me started on Activision servers, because, you want lag, go play Call of Duty. But no, their servers are great, but they just there's no guts to the game. It's just surface. And then what do they do on top of that? After getting you to pay full price for half a game, they go and throw in the microtransactions. For anything and everything to advance, to move up, you pay more.
And not just cosmetic, if I recall correctly. They're actual game-busting equipment in there.
Yeah. Your character has to reach a certain level before it can use some of those, but you don't actually have to earn the weapons if you want to go and shell out. Now, I personally have seen people that have gone and spent over $100 on top of the game cost for in-game currency to purchase other advancements for their characters.
And thinking back to it being released with the bugs, I've noticed that the AAA studios have been really bad about it. At least a lot of the independent ones will do it as an early access or something that indicates that you're going to be getting bugs. But Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed Unity, Warner Brothers with Batman. Arkham Knight, this, and so many games are just being tossed out there with just riddled with bugs that should have been caught in and dealt with before it left beta.
And they're unapologetic about it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. In the industry, they've started referring to it as the patch and pray modality of game launches. Yeah. Because they figure, okay, let's throw it out there and see what happens. We'll just patch whatever comes up.
It's a piss poor practice, and I think that, again, the only way that they're going to be dissuaded from doing this is by people voting with their wallets, quite honestly.
And that's why I don't pre-order games.
Never pre-order a game, ever.
Because that's just encouraging the practice, because at that point, you're paying without even knowing what you're going to get. And, well,
why would you pre-order something that theoretically could never run out of stock?
Exactly.
The only time you would pre-order something is if you are afraid you're not going to get it when it comes out.
Because if you pay that,
media, it doesn't happen.
Right, but see, if you pay that extra money ahead of time, you get special bonuses in game.
Oh, yes, and the pre-order bonuses, which are almost always either cosmetic or they get released later for someone to buy if they feel like it.
Yeah,
right.
Or if you wait for a year, if you don't need to be playing the game out, first out the gate. Wait a year. Every one of those bonuses will be available in the Master Collection. So,
Game of the Year package or whatever they want to call it.
They'll all be available. So the concept of buying something electronically as an early access is idiotic, quite honestly. I mean, I've bought early access, not early access, but I have bought pre-ordered expansions for World of Warcraft, for example, because it came with art books and things like that, actual tangible items. So I've got those behind these and on the bookshelf, and I enjoy them. But that is a tangible item. That is a specific thing. If it was, Legion, I'm not going to order Legion in advance. There's no point. Unless they say, oh, if you buy it physically in advance, then you get an art book. Okay, done, because that's my appeal. But yeah, this concept of releasing a game that's half-assed and just going, maybe we'll fix it, maybe we won't.
Oh, that's where they went right with Ark.
Yes.
The fact that they're still a year later after its initial launch saying, this is still a beta game. They still haven't gone full release.
Right, but they are steadily improving. They are taking feedback from their play testers. They are incorporating the more active, the things that people are asking for as official mods. They are taking their community seriously.
And they're fixing problems that they find out about.
They pay people to tell them where the bugs are. So that if there's an exploit, they say, tell us where the exploit is. We will pay you money to tell us where the exploit is, so that we can fix it. This was one of the first things that came out, and I gave them credit on the show for doing something that was innovative, and I wish AAA companies would just learn to emulate them. So, again, EA, Warner Brothers, Ubisoft, take note. But shall we move on, gentlemen?
Yep.
Next up, Resident Evil 7. So according to a usually reliable Twitter source, this is going to be a clean slate, which is implying a reboot of the series. The game is bent to be going back to its original horror, basically its pure roots of horror. It is, basically it's been announced that Capcom has hired designer Jordan Amaro, who previously worked with Hideo Kojima on Metal Gear Solid 5 and PT, aka Silent Hills, to work on this project. So it is very much hoped that he is going to bring some of the atmosphere and feeling of Silent Hills to Resident Evil 7. It is also rumored Capcom will in fact reveal this at E3 next month. It's not confirmed, but that's the rumor. They're anticipated to be far more active at E3 this year than they were last year. It is possible they may also announce 2 new major games, although again none of this is confirmed. So hopefully, fingers crossed, Capcom makes a stunning performance at E3, and of course we'll know more in about a month when that happens. I wish to God I could be physically present for it, but yeah.
Yeah, just looking at the picture for Resident Evil 7 there, and I'm really hoping that they come up with some more characters for it, because right now the 2 characters that I see are generic, gruff-looking, brown-haired white dude.
Well, it's better than half-naked, generic-looking American girl.
Oh yeah, there is that. I mean, seriously, who the heck wants to run around a zombie apocalypse of any manner, of any form, half naked?
Well, it's
like inviting them to the buffet.
It's not a matter of who wants to run around in that. It's who wants to watch somebody running around in that, because that's why they do it.
Yeah.
So
that.
Moving on to industry news, Crash, you want to talk about GTX 1080?
Yes, NVIDIA's newest graphics card. I believe it's the reference model. I believe they're calling it Foundation Edition. Has been released. Bit pricey. I think I saw like $599 or $699. But it's and this thing, the specs on it are just, it's blowing away all the other cards. The AMD ATI Fury X and others. Isn't
this going to have VR support?
Yes, it's definitely got the VR support. It also has Much faster architecture. The new Pascal, I believe they called it.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. And it's looking to be, well, the VR support, and the other big thing, the 4K support. Still not quite at the level where we could do 60 frames per second on a 4K on an intense game, but it's getting there. And even as a single card solution, it's pretty impressive. It's really, really impressive. And with SLI, it would be tough to beat. The 1070 is going to be a somewhat cheaper, somewhat lesser specs, but it's still impressively fast and powerful. For me, since I don't necessarily do as much gaming with it as others, my thing is I'm looking at it for its performance for my rendering for rendering 3D models, and it has 8 gigabytes of GDDR5X RAM on there, and that is more than enough space for just about anything I'd be doing.
Nice. Do we know what the price range is for it? Is it $5?
On the for the 1080, I believe the reference card is $699. Although that's for their version, the manufacturer suggested retail is going to be around $599 for other manufacturers making these cards.
Nice. I wish I could afford an upgrade.
Same
but
here.
I can't. All right, next up, just as a heads up, Nintendo. We pick on Nintendo occasionally, but I don't know. This may be picking on them again, just because Nintendo is going to propose an amendment to its official charter next month. They're going to propose this to the board of directors, which should be meeting on June 29th. It is their hope to diversify their business model again. In a notice that was issued by President Tatsumi Kimishima, Nintendo detailed its intention to update the company's stated purpose to add ventures such as eating establishments, computer software, and health devices. I'm greatly, greatly concerned.
2 of those make sense. The eating establishments, I'm not sure I get where they're going, but
I could see it if they want to make, Mario-themed maid cafes in Japan.
yeah.
They already have them in Japan.
Are they officially licensed by Nintendo? Is my question.
Do they care?
Yes. Nintendo
Well, Nintendo
does.
would care, yes, but
Nintendo
do the
care.
people?
But I would like to see them branch into the PC software, bringing some of their games out of consoles, like everybody else has done.
Well, they say if this is approved, these provisions will come as additions to Nintendo's current business focus. This will include selling playing cards, office equipment, paper products, and of course games. Apparently, they are interested in the management of, quote, restaurants, dining halls, cafes, and related sites. I don't even, and I'm afraid. I'm just sensing a mushroom-themed cafe somewhere that promises, I don't know, the ability to turn you into cat people, maybe raccoon tails. I don't know.
Bowser Burgers.
Nintendo apparently posted a 39.4% drop in overall profits during its annual fiscal year report last month. The company still remains profitable, but game sales, I guess, are overall down about $400 million from the year before. The company is still committed to games. Even though the Wii U and the 3DS are headed towards the end of their lifespans, Nintendo is currently working on Codename NX for release in March of 2017. So,
are they going to call it the NX01, like the Enterprise? No.
Yeah, that'll be maybe in 2018. So, yeah, Nintendo, we're picking on you just because you're weird. But we embrace weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the picture here on Polygon's article about this and seeing the Pulse Ox monitor hooked up to a Wii U mode, and I'm like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Like I said, I can see them going into that. I mean, that that in the computer software makes sense to me. It's the eating establishments that's just out of left field.
Well, I guess the last time they did the amendment, the previous president had wanted to go into health related ventures, and thus the wanting to incorporate into health equipment. I suppose it makes sense with fitness type things that they were doing with the
Wii Fit,
with the Wii Fit and all that crap. And so I suppose to that degree it makes sense, and logical extension, maybe healthy eating establishments. I don't know, but again, Nintendo, you're weird.
We love it.
We love it, and we're going to move on. Next, oops, I did it again. Wrong button. There we go. Crash, tell us about Justice League and the Darkseid War.
Alright, so the Darkseid War has been going on for the last several months. It's coming to an end next month.
I can only hope. I'm so tired of it.
And same here. I think the biggest problem I have is the Anti-Monitor's villain decay. I mean, here's a character who, in his first appearance, was wiping out whole universes back in
Not just
years
universes, multiverses.
Yeah, I utterly wiped out, as they say, infinite Earths, and yet this time around, he's evidently nothing more than somebody who built the Mobius chair, looked into eternity, got stuck with the anti-life equation, and then killed off Darkseid really quickly, and then now just ended up, he's just not nearly as
spoilers.
Yeah, he's not nearly as terrifying as
he's down to being just a simple world threat that the Justice League and the crime syndicate can slap around with a couple spare Amazons, as opposed to needing the entire multiverse of heroes and villains from across multiple dimensions to face off against him across a miniseries.
And he's a secondary character in a setting where it's like, so far I've seen the various members of the Justice League given godlike powers, which thankfully they're starting to get rid of.
I went into that. I went into that a couple episodes ago, because that just pisses me off.
And I'm looking at. Well, I think actually of the set, I think the worst one had to be what they did to Shazam.
God of Gods.
Yeah, along with the ridiculous list of the new gods providing his powers.
Yes, which have really had absolutely no bearing on anything anywhere other than him going, I can do this now?
Yeah. One thing I like about the way they're doing the series is now is that it doesn't seem to have any effect outside of the Justice League continuity, but then again, it's seriously covering a period of maybe 3 days?
Well, I mean, part of the problem, let's see, I pointed out, there was a fundamental inconsistency between this was back when Batman was no longer Batman. The fact that Batman was still in Justice League, but Batman wasn't anywhere else.
Well, what about the fact that Hal Jordan's running around with a big old Green Lantern gauntlet and not with the ring anymore, and yet in Justice League he's still with the ring? You could tell that they're playing
fast and
timey-wimey ball there.
Well, I think that was when they finally said, you know what, screw it, we might as well have multiple universes again, because this makes no sense.
Yeah.
So, I will be, for one, really happy when the Darkseid War is over, and I will promptly forget it, because it has just been horribly, horribly written crap from day one.
And the thing is villains like Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor work best when they are used very sparingly. And
the Anti-Monitor was the big bad, and then the next time we see him, he's a freaking Yellow Lantern.
Well, he's the big bad, and some of the next times we see him, the Yellow Lantern, I didn't even see much of him as that, but it's like, people are using his corpse to power, like, these big, evil, world-shattering things.
Yeah, I mean,
like the Black Lantern battery and the tuning fork from Infinite Crisis.
Oh, God.
Which is at least, that's at least admitting that, this is some massive power of destruction, as opposed to someone that's pretty much on the same level with Darkseid, which means he's on the level of getting his butt handed to him by the Justice League.
Yeah, he's just a god. Oh, okay, that's it. He's just a god.
Yeah.
He's not a fundamental cosmic force. He's just a god. Which sounds ironic, but that is literally, when it comes to DC Universe, that is literally what it comes down to. He's not a cosmic force, he's just a god.
Yeah, when you're talking about comics in general, he's just a god, pretty much puts him at the same level as, he's just a god, and look what Hulk did to Loki.
Yeah.
Puny god.
Puny god.
Puny god.
Yep.
So, let's move on. Knight, you want to talk about the 100?
Yeah, actually I do. It's something that I'm actually looking really forward to tonight. I skipped watching last week's episode because it's a 2-part season finale.
And spoilers, if you want to talk about spoilers, we'll just throw that out there.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I for anybody who has not caught up on the 100 or whatnot, I'm just going to throw out the spoilers warning out there just in case.
Yeah, no, I try not to do spoilers in general, but with the ways that the show has gone, have either of you watched the 100 at all?
I have not. No, sorry.
Read the books?
No.
Okay. It was an okay book series. Very teeny bopperish, definite young adult fiction. Basically, it's about 300 years from now, 100 years prior to the beginning of the series, the world was wiped out in massive World War III. All the space stations from the different countries banded together, created one big space station they called the Ark. Long story short, they ended up sending 100 of their kids down to the surface of the planet to test viability. And then all kinds of stuff ensued. Turns out there's humans that were still living on Earth. They called them the Grounders, and there were these people that lived in this military base that were basically the exact same thing as what they were up in space, except for the fact that they were douchebags that lived underneath the Earth and couldn't live on the surface because of the radiation. But now we've gotten to the point that we figured out why the final attack had happened. That was last season's finale, where we came across the AI. And the entire thing was caused by this artificial intelligence, who is actually played by the actress who played Jo in Eureka. And she does an amazing job of doing it. Basically trying to create a utopian virtual society, and now they're trying to turn all humans into this with these little itty-bitty chips that they swallow, and then it goes up into the brain and takes over. But the premise of it has been just amazing with everything that they've done. Going from a completely collapsed society to reintegrating with those who have continued living under harsh conditions and those who continued living in okay conditions.
For some reason, this reminds me of Fallout.
Well,
I'm sorry?
For some reason, this reminds me a little of Fallout, only with them coming from above instead of below.
Well, there were some douches who lived below, so they would be the Fallout people.
Yeah.
Except, of course, the douches who lived below were never exposed to the radiation and can't handle the amounts of radiation. Now, the ones from the space stations, they can actually handle the radiation that's still left on the planet, on the surface, because of the weak shielding on these stations to begin with. They've been exposed to high levels of radiation their entire lives anyways. So, yeah. But no, in that sense, the premise, one of the very first shots in the first episode of season 1, when they got down to the surface, you see a deer, and the deer is just, grazing. And then it turns its head, and it's got 2 faces, one of them all distorted and mutated.
That sounds like Fallout 4.
yeah. That, and then there was one where they're near the remnants of Washington, D.C., and there's the Washington Zoo, and there's literally some gorillas that make the gorillas that were in Congo seem tame. So, yeah, there's a lot of premise there, but now they're moving along and, more AI stuff, more technology. They've really done a good job of taking a show a book that was kind of weak, but still, decent for young adult fiction, and then turning it into a show that has now been approved for its 4th season.
Yeah.
So at a time when we're getting shows that are being canceled after 2 episodes, this one's managed to go for a 3 full seasons, and now it's going into its 4th one this next year.
Sweet.
So anybody who hasn't watched it, if you like that kind of a series, it's well worth watching. And they do have a lot of other actors that have come across, not just the actress that played Joe in Eureka, Officer Joe, but we've got like Isaiah Washington, he's in there. Michael Beach is in there as kind of a heavy good guy. Just a lot of really good actors. And Eliza Taylor, who plays the lead actress, teenager that got sent down to the surface not prematurely, but earlier than anybody else. Her ability to act with an American accent is phenomenal, especially after you listen to interviews with her and hear her Aussie accent.
Well, again, that's part of that they go through extensive training to bury those in England and in Australia. So
yeah.
Well, I mean, look at what's his name, the guy who plays Rick on Walking Dead. It's so funny listening to him in interviews because his accent is so obvious there.
Oh yeah, no, I loved him in Love Actually, and then I was watching Walking Dead and went, wait a second, he's familiar.
All right, so we're coming up on an hour, so we need to rush through these last few items, guys.
Okay.
So next up, just real quick, Once Upon a Time. Speaking of shows that have just wrapped up a season, Season 5 just completed with Once Upon a Time. They are preparing for Season 6. I'm going to say spoilers because there are things that are came out of the season finale and are planned for the upcoming season that I'm going to talk about. So season 5 ended with the separation of Regina from the Evil Queen. We thought the Evil Queen was destroyed. Oh no, they are now 2 separate beings. And the Evil Queen is going to apparently have a mad-on for her other self. And that's going to be part of Season 6. We also saw Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They are newly arrived in Storybrooke from the Land of Untold Stories. The plan for Season 6 is that we won't be going to a new realm. We will, in fact, stay in Storybrooke this time around. But we'll be seeing new characters coming in from the realm of Untold Stories. We will be focusing, however, on the core characters of the series. We won't be just bombarding each other with, like Hercules and Merida and all those. Kitsis did indicate that we will be seeing the resolution of Belle's pregnancy. The Charmings should be stepping up as leaders once again, and we may in fact see Rumpelstiltskin's mother. For those who have watched the show, we've already seen and dealt with his father, and seen and dealt with his son. And so just eyes open. I believe Season 6 will probably be beginning, I would wager, in September. I don't have an official date, but that's usually sometime in the late September, early October is usually about when it starts. So heads up for that, guys. Knight, you want to talk about Star Trek?
Oh, I always want to talk about Star Trek.
Well, let's talk about the new one then.
Okay, so yeah. All right, yeah, I'm just double checking here. Yeah, originally I was gonna just talk about pretty much everything we knew about the new series. When I first sat down to do this, the teaser trailer had not yet launched, so that just kind of added a whole new wrinkle to all this. But to make it short and sweet, this is looking very promising. We're looking at a serialized edition of Star Trek where every season is going to be different, different cast, different crew, different villains, as they put into the new trailer with the entire line there of new crews, new villains, new heroes,
New worlds or something like that.
New worlds, right? That entire thing there, lends towards it being very American horror story-esque.
Oh, that'd be. That's kind of.
So
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
You have my attention, sir.
Oh yeah, no, that's been one of the big things that have been going around, and I do feel that the new preview that was just launched yesterday reinforces that with just those 8-word blurb. Luckily, though, I am very happy to say that it's not going to be a reboot. A lot of people were afraid that they were going to spin off of the J.J. Abrams timeline.
Are they going back to the original?
They are. It's from what the official papers are showing is that it's going to be sometime between, or this initial one is going to be somewhere in between the Enterprise series and Next Generation. So anywhere in there. But it's not going to take place with any known ships or characters.
It could be interesting. I'm intrigued, shall we say?
Right, and this is just for the first season.
Yeah.
They tried with Enterprise in that final season to almost serialize it in the sense that they had 3 and 4 part episodes that carried an entire story arc. This time they're going to do an entire season with a story arc.
The problem with Enterprise is that they tried to de-tech it and found out that storylines rely a little too heavily on the tech.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to introduce it all in real. It just didn't work out very well. It got better at the end, but it was a bad premise, and it. In all honesty, I think the writers were kind of tired by that point. They needed the break, but
they had lost direction.
Yeah, they'd lost direction, and I think if they're going to do tight season-long story arcs, like they do with American Horror Stories, that's really an interesting concept, and especially if they're going to stay in the original universe,
right?
Then I'm on board. Sign my ass up. Mm-hmm. Shall we move on?
Well, just one little thing that I want to say is a complaint that I have, and I'm really hoping that CBS may rethink this slightly. So the first episode is going to air January of 2017 on CBS broadcast networks. Every episode thereafter will only be available as video on demand through CBS All Access Online. Pause for effect.
Yeah. The thing is last week I think it was last week I was talking about how Hulu, YouTube, and somebody else are already in talks to actually try and decouple a bunch of things to where you can actually purchase specific not shows, but specific channels. They're basically attacking things like the Xfinity packaging and stuff like that, to where instead of having to get like two channels you want and 100 channels you don't. You buy only the channels you want and then F everything else. Right. And I think if they can do that, I don't know if they can do that by the time the show comes out, but if they can do that, I'm pretty sure CBS would be amongst those things that they would incorporate directly.
Much better than having
have a
them
sub
all
package
off on
you can
independent
subscribe
sites.
to.
Yeah. So, but who knows?
Well,
we'll
let's hope that they're able to do something like that, and that the FTC doesn't go after them like when they stopped Time Warner from being bought out by Comcast, and then less than a year later, it turns out Time Warner is being bought by Charter.
I think they'll allow this. This isn't necessarily creating anything larger. This is actually allowing them to decouple things. So I think the FCC will be totally on board because it breaks the empires down. It's like I said last week. I don't want 100 ESPN channels. I don't watch ESPN channels. I never will. It is not my type of show. Therefore, it's a waste of my money.
And it is so annoying when you're scrolling through your guide and have to look at all these damned ESPN channels playing stuff that you have no interest in.
It's like I said, on my thing, on my box in there, I've got 500 channels. I watch maybe 5, 6 of them at most. So let's move on real quick then. I saw this this week and I am dying. I'm dying, and that's usually a bad thing in these types of movies. This is Sadako versus Kayoko, otherwise known as The Ring versus The Grudge. And it is coming out in Japan on June 18th. I am dying to get a hold of this movie. It's subtitled because God knows the American versions will ruin it. But apparently the plot line involves a really, really unlucky person who ends up watching Sadako's videotape while at Kayoko's haunted house. As a result, she ends up bringing the two most vengeful ghosts together to compete against one another to see who gets to kill whom. And go watch that. Go watch the trailer after the show. After the show.
I've got it playing right now in the background, watching it.
And I've seen some of the trailer, and it's like, stringy black hair everywhere.
And that thing going on. The part where Kayoko grabs the videotape and crushes it and then looks at Sadako who pokes her eyes out with her hair.
Yeah.
I'm like, the poor girl who's stupid enough to watch the damn video
should obviously be just kicking back with a thing of popcorn watching the two ghosts fight it out.
Yeah, except she keeps standing between them. There's one part where she's standing at the well. She looks behind her and there's Sadako. Then she looks over there and there's Kayoko crawling towards her. I'm like, I'd be pissing right now. On
it's
them.
Just the imagery that I'm seeing right now without the audio is,
It is, I want this movie in America, but not with the American versions. I don't want to see Sarah Michelle Gellar anywhere near this. I love you, Buffy, but I don't want to see your version of The Grudge. I don't want to see Samara. This is the original Sadako and the original Kayoko from the first two movies, because they were replaced in later movies. But these are the original two actresses.
Yeah, I heard this started out as from what I was reading, it started out as an April Fool's gag.
It was.
And the interest in it was so high that they just had to make it.
This is the Japanese version of Freddy Meets Jason, except awesome.
Yes.
Full of awesome.
Oh, come on, I love Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, but that was comedy in and of itself.
So we get cool versus
True.
Awesome.
So I want this movie. I am going to scour the universe for the subtitle version of it. So go watch it after the show. It is going to make you want it as well. Next up, Nightmare. You want Nightmare? Damn it!
No, I'm gonna have nightmares now after watching that trailer. Damn it!
Dice Star, you want to talk about Assassin's Creed?
Since we're running short on time, I'm going to keep it short and sweet here. I only have one complaint about the trailer that just came out last week for the new Assassin's Creed movie, and that is what they're doing with the Animus, making it into a movable thing. It seems like they're going to be doing some training with him physically instead of just allowing the bleeding effect to take over and have him have the abilities. That being said, the rest of it, even the fact that they're talking about 65% of it's going to be in present day and only 35% of the movie is going to be actually in the past during what I think is the best time period that they could have set this in other than any of the time periods in the games, and that's the Spanish Inquisition. I think it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to watching Fassbender play an Animus subject and actually go in and out and do the entire sequence of everything that's going to be done in this. And I'll leave it at that.
Sweet.
Until we have more news.
All right. I'm going to avoid naming the movie that must not be named because we said that we won't talk about it anymore on the show. However, just as a heads up, the DC Cinematic Universe has been handed over to new authority. Jeff Johns and John Berg have been basically announced to run the newly created DC Films division of Warner Brothers. That does not mean that Zack Snyder's out. It does mean he has to answer to somebody for a change.
Good.
This is basically their way of answering Kevin Feige's control over the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Although Johns didn't directly confirm the report, he did say you can connect the dots. He did discuss the future of the DC brand, and he believes that it needs more hope and optimism. Yes, thank God. The sheer depression of the movie, which shall not be named, weighs heavily on my soul.
It's
it
like
was
every
so
trailer
dark.
I've seen is so dark. I mean, everything happens at night, which is fine for,
Batman.
Yeah, Batman. But the other player in the game you should see him in bright sunlight. He is a shining example.
One of the comments that Jeff Johns made was they kept saying that you can't identify with Superman because he's got the power of gods, and Jeff Johns says that is ludicrous. He is a boy from Kansas who wants to make it in the big city with all that he has. That is the most relatable character you can possibly have. Yeah. So that's why he's basically stepping in to take control, and I wish him and John Berg all the power. Ben Affleck has already been announced to be, I said an executive director, I was wrong. He is the executive producer, of the Justice League movie. So he will be working with Zack Snyder directly. I still say it's to rein Zack Snyder in, although he says it's because he works so well with Zack Snyder. I think that's a lie. But just as a heads up, these are the current movies slated for coming up. Suicide Squad coming up 8/6, Doctor Strange 11/14. Next year we have Wolverine 3, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, and Justice League. In 2018 we have Black Panther, The Flash, Avengers Infinity War 1, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Aquaman. In 2019, Captain Marvel, Shazam, ironically, 2 of them, and Avengers Infinity War 2 and Justice League 2, and in 2020, Cyborg and Green Lantern Corps. There is as yet unscheduled Batman movie, unyet scheduled Man of Steel 2, unyet scheduled Booster Gold, and a newly rumored Harley Quinn-led female team movie to be produced by Margot Robbie. So, yeah. Lots of stuff. Next up, real quick, Nightstar, you want to talk about Civil War?
Yeah, the movie that you can actually say the name to, in my opinion. DC versus Marvel, I've always been pro Marvel versus DC. I will say that I disagree with you a little bit, Drew, on some of the things that you said about the movie that will not be named. But at the same time, I also agreed with you on most of the things that you said.
And that's why it's an opinion and not, a fact.
Yes. Well, of course, you know what opinions are most like, right?
Yes.
Anyways, No, but as far as Civil War goes, another shining example of DC on the big screen. They brought it together with the Avengers and Captain America, and they did it justice. Pun intended.
I felt it was a little long, but otherwise I thought it was a great movie.
I do admit that about 3/4 of the way through, my bladder was talking to me, but I held it just because of the fact that I had to stay all the way through the credits, because I will not watch another Marvel movie and walk out of the credits.
I always walk out of the credits because I watched the scenario of it on YouTube because I want to get out of there. But
yeah.
I knew what they did in the credits. So
a lot of people complained about Spider-Man in this, that he was too much of a little boy.
He's.
But I liked his character. Go ahead.
Appropriately chatty. That was
exactly.
He's supposed to be. I mean, him and Deadpool give each other do this same shtick with the talking all throughout the fight.
I mean, the fact that he's fighting the Winter Soldier, he's like, "You got a metal arm, dude? That's so cool."
It's like, yeah, I mean, Spider-Man and Deadpool are the two talkers of the Marvel Universe.
I mean, that is their shtick. That's what they do. And yes, he's young, but that was what he was at the beginning of his run.
Precisely. This is a new rebirth of Spider-Man.
And
all the other rebirths that are going on out there.
And they did what I think that they should have done with Spider-Man. They did not need to retell his origin story. They simply took it for granted.
Yeah. They didn't have to get into, the man who made his rice dying or anything like that. Sorry, bad Uncle Ben pun.
Yes, thank you.
But I do have to say one of the best lines that was in the movie coming out of him that made me almost lose the battle with my bladder was, "Hey, you guys remember that really, really old sci-fi movie where they were on that ice planet?"
Yes.
And they're sitting there going around Ant-Man with the webs to knock him. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah, they're all saying, "How young is this guy again?"
Yeah. Now, my only complaint on casting for one of the new characters, rebirth characters, was Aunt May. I do not want Aunt May to be that young or hot.
Yeah.
Period.
That was a little stunning.
I have not seen this movie, so I will wait to be disturbed by it later.
She looks like she's probably in her early to mid-30s.
Well, did you notice who that was?
I recognized her, but I couldn't tell you. I'm like I know that person, but
it was Marissa Tomei.
Oh, thank you.
Oh dear Lord.
So even I was like, wait a second. Oh wow.
So yeah.
But no, as far as the entire saga of everything to do with the new Marvel Universe on film, Civil War, 4.3 or 4.75 stars, in my opinion.
Out of 5, I'm assuming.
Well, yes.
Okay, because it could have been 10, in which case it sucks.
Right, no. I'm going with the standard 5-star Michelin rating.
Okay, because we tend to rate with 10, so...
Okay, then 9.5 out of 10.
Okay, we'll take that. All right, last topic of the day, Ghostbusters 2. Why, oh why.
2.
Yeah, Ghostbusters 2 released a new trailer everywhere except YouTube.
No.
Because YouTube, when the first trailer was released, the trailer garnered so many dislikes that it literally became the most disliked trailer on YouTube. It is currently ranked, according to my top 100 videos, as the 12th most disliked video ever on YouTube. So this time they decided they were going to release it on Facebook and Twitter exclusively. and then they'll put it on Sony's official YouTube page. I'm not going to say it looks much better, but they rely a lot less heavily on similarities to the original movie. But I'm not going to say it looks any better.
Well, and really, getting away from the original movie is probably the best thing for it at this point.
Well, they should have probably used this and not used the first one.
Mm.
You know, you don't want the parallels to the first movie. The point is to not have parallels to the first movie. But it's out there. You can see it. Wait till after the show is over, just like usual. I'm not going to tell you to do it now, so wait till after. But we're almost done, so it won't take long. But watch Sadako versus Kyoko first. All right, guys, that's all we got this month or this week.
There's a mashup: Sadako versus Kyoko versus the Ghostbusters.
The Ghostbusters lose a lot. Although that would be hysterical to watch. Proton packs on those little videotapes. All right, so that's all we got this week. Guys, you got any plans for the week or anything that we should know about? Or
Nah.
How about you, Nightstar? We lost his mic. All right, well, then I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. And we will see you guys next week at the usual time, whatever the hell that time is. I guess it pretty much is whenever the hell I put this up on YouTube. After I edit it. So, peace out, y'all, and we'll see you next time. After I hit the right button.